Our lesson for today is all about Western classical art tradition. But before that, please take note that we'll be answering these three questions at the end of the discussion. First, what are the different eras in Western classical art? Second, based on the artworks created in the different era, what are their distinct characteristics? And lastly, what is the main theme of the different eras of Western classical art tradition? There are some artworks. Can you identify what is S in each picture? Those artworks came from Western classical art traditions. Western classical art includes Prehistoric Era. Do you have any idea about the paintings from Prehistoric Era? Their paintings were found inside a cave, which may have been their way of communicating with each other. It may also be for religious or ceremonial purposes. These paintings may be more an artifacts of an archaeological proof of a proper image of human first created art. Browse your module on page 13. That is an example of prehistoric era paintings, entitled Caves of Lascaux during 15,000 to 10,000 BC. As you can see, the dominant features in the painting were large animal in the region. It was discovered on September 12, 1940. As you can see, the dominant features in the painting were large animal in the region. It was discovered on September 12, 1940 and given stationary ancient monument protection. This painting has nearly 2,000 figures composed mainly animals, human figures, and abstract design. Next are the paintings from ancient Egypt. One of the examples is a painting from sarcophagus of Tutankhamen. When we say sarcophagus, it is a stone coffin or tomb. The paintings of the walls of the sarcophagus show events of the life of the king while he was still on earth and the scenes he expects to encounter in the underworld after his death. So, the motive of Egyptian paintings is to make the deceased afterlife pleasant. With this in mind, the challenge of introducing the deceased to the gods of the underworld by using the skill of their depending deities matters. It also emphasizes the importance of life after death and the preservation of the knowledge of the past. Now, let's proceed to the paintings from Classical Greek era. Paintings during the Classical Greek era were most commonly found in vases, panels, and tombs. It depicts natural figures with dynamic composition. Most of the subjects was battle scenes, mythological figures, and everyday scenes. They reveal a whole close of linear point of view and naturalist representation. Next is the most common method of Greek paintings, the fresco and encaustic. Let's talk one by one. The fresco method of painting is a water-based pigment on a freshly applied plaster, usually on the wall surfaces. Next is encaustic. It was developed by Greek shipbuilders who used hot wax to fill the cracks of the ship. Again, when we say fresco, it is made of ground powder pigments mixed in pure water, while encaustic, it is made with hot wax. As I said a while ago, classical painting can be found in vase painting, panel painting, and tomb painting. Vase painting, also known as Kirk style or referred to as Kirk vases, a red figured pottery named after the place where it was found. Shapes commonly found are, first, the pill-like or the wine container. Second, lecanis, a low bowl with two horizontal handles and a low broad foot. Third, the leaves gamikos with high handles and lid used to raise bridal baths. And lastly, crater, a bowl used for mixing wine and water. Painted vases serve many different purposes. Some were used as container of wine or oil. Others were used as drinking vessel, and still others were used as prizes at the games held at Athens every summer. The vases were filled with olive oil from sacred groves and given to the winning teams or athletes. Example of classical vase painting is the Judgment of Paris during 370 to 330 BC on page 15. So what can you say about their vase painting? It was a contest between the three most beautiful of Olympus, Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena for the prize of golden apple addressed to the fairest. Next is the panel paintings. These are paintings on flat panels of wood. It can be small, single piece, or several panels joined together. And most of the panel paintings no longer exist because of their organic composition. The earliest panel painting is the pizza panel. The pizza panels or pizza tablets are a group of painted wooden tablets found near Pizza Corinthia. And lastly, the tomb or wall painting. Tomb or wall painting was very popular during the classical period. One example is the Tomb of the Diver on page 16. The image depicts a symposium scene on the wall. It was painted using a fresco in water-based or wax, and because it uses water-based materials, very few samples survive. Next is the paintings from Roman era. Most of the artwork in this technological know-how have been copied or imitated from Hellenic Greek paintings. Hellenistic art appears more concerned with the human form or human expression. Roman paintings have a variety of subjects: animals, everyday life, still life, mythological subjects, portraits, and landscapes. The improvement of panorama painting is the main innovation of Roman painting from Greek painting. Roman era also introduced mosaic, wherein it is an art process where an image is created using an assemblage of small pieces of colored glass, stone, or other materials. This technique is used for ornamental arts or indoor decorations. The picture on page 16 on your module is an example of mosaic named Head of Alexander. The full image is a Roman floor mosaic in the house of Pan Pompey, dated 100 BC. The whole mosaic depicts the battle between the armies of Alexander the Great and Darius III of Persia. Next is the Byzantine painting. The lively patterns which had been invented in Greek and Rome live on Byzantium. However, this time for Christian subjects. By the 11th century, the Greek and Oriental patterns seemed to combo collectively in magnificent, imposing images which adorn the churches in massive and small forms. An example of this is the fresco from Villa of Mysteries, Pompeii, 80 BC. It depicts about the Asian queen with dark eyes and hair with fierce expression named Chodora. Then, the Romanesque paintings. These are ordinarily positioned mosaics on the walls of the church structures that follow a strict frontal pose. It has an amazing range of creative traditions such as modeling of vases and draperies that examine Byzantine convention, while the refreshingly decorative fillings come from southern French styles. It also shows traces of Mozarabic influence through elongated oval faces, staring eyes, and long noses, figures against flat-colored bands and heavy outlining. Christ in Majesty is an example of Romanesque painting. Christ wears a grayish white robe with a blue mantle. Underneath the mandorla, Italian word for almond used to describe an enclosure surrounding holy figures in painting, is a black band with white writing. Each side of the center window are three arches, resting on columns of capitals in green, red, and black. And in between of the figures of Virgin Mary and five saints are columns of vertical, wavy lines patterns. This mural painting has been moved to Barcelona and replaced by replica. And lastly is the painting from Gothic era. Paintings have been confined in the illumination of manuscript pages, and the painting of frescoes on the walls of churches in cosmopolitan style, elegant, manured, and sophisticated. Lady and the Unicorn Tapestry during 1506 to 1513 is an example of Gothic painting. Subjects usually depict popular legends and love stories. Patterns like mille fleurs or thousand flowers show influence which may have been due to the Crusades. And another example of Gothic era is the rose window from the north transept during the 12th century. Rose window, also called wheel window, is a stained glass windows were created to transform the basque stone interiors with warm and glowing color and to instruct Christians in their faith. That ends our lesson for today. But let's have the rundown of the points to be remembered a while ago in the discussion. First, we discussed prehistoric era. Their paintings mostly found inside the cave, and it is a way of communicating with each other. They usually use animals, human figures, and their everyday life activities as their themes or subjects. Second, the ancient Egypt. The purpose of their paintings is to show the preservation of the knowledge of the past and the importance of life after death. They usually use pharaohs, gods and goddesses as their themes and subjects. Third, the classical era. Their paintings most commonly found in vases, panels, and tomb. It depicts natural figures with dynamic composition. Most of the subject was battle scenes, mythological figures, and everyday scenes. They revealed a whole close of linear point of view and naturalist representation. Fourth, the Roman era. The artworks from this era imitated Hellenic Greek paintings. They also introduced mosaic and panorama paintings, and most of the subjects was animals, everyday life activities, still life paintings, mythological subjects, portraits, and landscapes. Fifth, the Byzantine era. Mostly adorn the churches in massive and small forms, and their theme is Christian subjects. Sixth, the Romanesque era. Its characteristic is to follow a strict frontal pose. It shows traces of Mozarabic influence, and most of their theme is Christian or biblical characters. And lastly, the Gothic era. Paintings have been confined in the illumination of manuscript pages. Also, painting of frescoes on the walls of churches in cosmopolitan style, elegant, manured, and sophisticated. Their theme is biblical characters. Now that we are done with the discussion, I want you to go over your module and answer the activity entitled Know Your Own. First, how can you use your knowledge about Western classical art in real life? Second, why is Western classical art traditions important? Write your answer on your answer sheet and don't forget to indicate your name and section and submit it to your resident teacher. And that would be all for today. I hope that you learn and you remember the important details of our lesson. If you still have questions, please write it down on your answer sheet and we'll give you the answers soon. It has been a great day of learning and discussion.